I was born in the United States and no state in the United States. And I was born on the Cherokee Strip. And that was it's up near Kansas, the corner of Kansas, but it was in Oklahoma. Nobody wanted me when I was born because I wasn't a boy. I was on the train the day I was 2 years old, and my mother said I'd run up and down the train saying, "Going to Washington, going to Washington." I've gotten to see Halley's Comet twice. I think I was about 14 the first time. And it was quite an experience it was just like something going across the light going across the sky with a kind of a tail to it. Near Ellensburg. And I can remember we had lots of Indians, real Indians. And my father, one time a bunch of Indians got drunk and they were fighting, but they were so drunk they couldn't hurt themselves really. And they always liked my dad. And he bought a little tiny Indian pony, and she was red and spotted and small. And the Indians, when we'd see them coming down the road, why, we would always hide her behind the house because they don't understand that if they buy anything, they still own it. The old Indian bucks would very independent. They'd ride up and down the road, and they wouldn't give an inch. If you had a horse and buggy, you got off at the road for them. But the squaws would generally give the road and they always had their faces painted with berry juice. The squaws. I don't know whether they thought it made them beautiful or what. We had an Indian horse, and her name was Cayuse, and she was a fantastic horse. She was an Indian horse, and if you got her in the barn with the one that she worked with, old Pitt, she was quite tame. But out in the field or anything, the only person that ever walked to that horse was my sister that's dead. And she would talk to her, kind of like baby talk, And she would let my sister go up to her and pet her. And that horse could outpull about 2. And, they'd have to go to the town to get a load of groceries or feed or something. And they'd always took a cayuse, of course. And many a time they've got stuck in the mud and would pull so hard that her belly would be practically on the ground. And us kids had a little cemetery. And every time a chicken or a duck or anything like that would die, and we used to save the spool boxes where thread had come in. You get 12 things of thread, in a box. We'd always save those, and we'd every time a little chicken or a little anything like that would die, we'd have a regular funeral and sing songs. You know, kids will find a way to have a good time. And we had a cousin. Anyway, she came to stay with us. She was going to have another baby. We had an outside toilet. This was crazy. And she wouldn't, my mother didn't want her to go out to this outside toilet. It was always after lunch she'd go in and use the chamber, what you call the chamber. I did the same thing. And they asked me why I did that. I said, well, she does it. And one day we was out riding this skid around, and in this little wagon my brother had made, I was jealous, you know. So I slapped his face good. And my sister that's dead said, oh, she's just a baby herself, don't ever tell. But we'd get in little scraps, you know, and we didn't run to the folks with everything, you know. We'd settle it outside, and they'd be darn good to you for maybe a couple of days, so you keep your mouth shut. And I'll never forget as long as I live. My grandmother had a black, what you called, Battenberg. It had, you know, had like heavy braids sewed around it, in it. And I never liked my grandmother. And so my mother was going to take her to church one time. And it was mud, muck, and wet. So my mother put her on a sled and hitched a horse to it. And the sled overturned in the mud. And I can remember I laughed because I didn't like the old girl anyway. And she was mud and wet and oh, I didn't laugh in front of them. I got my little fanny paddled a couple of times for my smart remarks, and so I got next to it. We had a great big orchard, and probably 40 apple trees, and we would make this great big pot we had full of apples and just cook them down until it was a thick butter, you know. Gee, it was good. Put a little cinnamon, nutmeg, and sugar in it. Those days you weren't worried about whether you eat anything sweet or not. It's darn glad to eat. A neighbor, and he had TB awful bad, and so anyway, at last he died, and I can remember his wife wouldn't believe that he had passed away, and I can remember as well as anything my mother taking a mirror and holding it over his mouth so there would be no, you know, to show her that he was gone. I can remember having the whooping cough and spitting blood and falling, coughing so hard I fell off the chair several times. It was just one room, and I would give anything to know what that word was. It was a long word that she wrote on the board, and that's how I learned to write. I was supposed to write just like that word was. If it was remembrance or something like that. Oh, I was a devil. I could sit there and I couldn't help it now, really. I could just scream and laugh and have more fun. I'd see so many silly, funny things. We'd sit in those darned old seats, big seats. Your legs would hang down till they'd hurt so bad. I can remember the first automobile I rode in. I was scared to death. I had stood up in the back seat and held by the back seat and held on to the back seat for all I was worth. Imagine he went about 10 miles an hour. I thought he was going 80. I can remember the first time that I ever had bought candy, and they were long sticks. Instead of the stripes that go around like this, now, years later, the stripes, when that went up and down, they must have poured them in a mold or something, and were different colors until they got firm, I don't know. And we used to make our own soap. We saved all the fat, and then we'd put lye in it and stir it up. Take maybe a boiler or so, get into the wash tub. We had a bath once a week. My sister that's dead lived to be 19. I used to wake up in the night, and I'd be afraid of the dark, and I'd go and get in bed with my sister that's dead. She was always more kind of like a mother to me. And my oldest sister could teach school. She went to summer school about 3 months. Outside of it, I suppose about the 8th grade. But I can remember one time must have been about 4, and I came downstairs early in the morning, and I had on, well, we used to wear little panty waists, they'd come to about here, and then your panties would button on them. And I came downstairs, and I got my pants pedaled for walking in front of my brother. He was 8 years older. That's a terrible thing, wasn't it? Yeah. Now girls has got their skirts up to their crotch. Just as soon as anybody got awful sick, they'd always send for my mother. She would just, and my mother, when she was a young girl, she used to go and sit up with people that were dying and things like that. She could do anything like that for sick people. And you'd get sick and she'd call you in the morning to get up and you'd say, "Oh, I'm sick." And she'd always say, "Well, get up and see how you feel." Lord, you knew darn well how you felt. And then if you got up and you stayed up 5 minutes, and you said, "Oh, I'm sick," you got the works then. She'd do all kinds of things. if you was able to make the 5 minutes. We had an outside toilet. Oh, that wasn't something. Have to go to the toilet in the dark. And I'd be scared pea green. The booger man was going to get me. Years later, we had a telephone, and your phone would be two longs and a short, and you'd ring it, and then all the neighbors, all the neighbors along the line that had a telephone and listen in. They knew more about your business than you did. Oh, we had money. Goodness. We had a washing machine, and it went this way. And it was just rough on the inside, corrugated. You could wash the finest um, curtains and things in it without snagging them or, twisting them around. My dad had the most beautiful blue eyes, deep blue. You'd meet him and you'd just almost stare for a minute. His eyes were so deep blue, and he had black curl, well, not really black, but pretty dark, curly hair. He wasn't an awful big man. I imagine around your size. I can remember that my dad used to go fishing, and the fish would spawn, and it was, I imagine, as big as that from over here. A body of water, and these fish would come up, spawning season, and they'd generally lay for about a day and rest, and then they'd jump a falls, little falls. Oh, we used to the neighbors would get together, and they called it literary. And they'd all get together and all take some, and kids would learn pieces, and I learned a piece when I was 5. They stood me on an apple box. They'd have food and chew the fat. They used the schoolhouse for church, and we had an old man by the name of Wheeler. He'd get wound up, and so help me, I'd swear, he could blab for 3 hours. And I'm telling you, I was taught one thing. You did not distract any church service. My dad would give you one look, and the next time he'd get up and go over and give your hair a yank or something. You'd be embarrassed to death in front of everybody.